Starts with the clerk.
We are now recording.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I now call to order our March council meeting at 7:01 p.m. And I'd ask Councilman Eric Nash to join us in the invocation.
Let's pray. Dear Lord, thank you for letting us gather here this wonderful spring evening. Thank you for this weather that you've bestowed upon us, some dry weather. Lord, bless our decisions up here so they may be pleasing in your sight and to the citizens of Blackstone. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 We now invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight.
If I may, Mayor,
Yes.
we could add
That's already on the agenda.
loan resolution
Yes.
to the agenda. We can do it whatever time you'd like.
We will do that. Just before we get started, we had a great day today. Congresswoman Spanberger came down and dropped off a $923,000 check. That, coupled with a $500,000 loan and grant from USDA,
$1,020,000 loan grant offer.
$200,000 from the county. So what was looking at one time to be potentially a $1 million debt the town would have to buy a new ladder truck is going to be very minimal. And so anyway, that's some good news. We'll fill you in on that later, but it was very good. And we had lunch with Representative Spanberger and her staff, and really good stuff. Before you, members of council, you have two sections of minutes from the January 24th and February 16th meetings.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any questions or corrections? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. And by the way, let's welcome our newest councilman, Jacob Allman, representing Ward C. We don't know what his first motion will be, but we'll find out shortly.
We've got a book over here.
Very good. Well, glad to have him here. On your agenda, this is the first of two parts of the agenda where visitors can address the public. This is the first option. We have no one who signed up in advance. Would someone like to address council? We just ask you come to the podium, state your name and address, and we'll be glad to hear your concerns. And we don't have a time limit here, but once it gets to the point where you made your point, we thank you.
I'm concerned about my light bill. For 1 month, a $933 light bill? I want to know how it go up so high. Now, they had called it winterized. My house was being winterized about almost 5 years ago. If you winterize it, the heat pump is doing no good.
Just so we can stay for the record, your name and address, just to have
What are
it.
your Kelly?
Right,
104 North Amelia Avenue,
okay.
which everyone should know.
Right now, I just get that for those who are watching. Now, some basic questions I always ask people, and please don't take them the wrong way. The bill is for 1 month, because sometimes people will have a previous, my wife and I wait till the last minute to pay the bill, so we may get our next bill that says $700, but the reality of it is just $350, because,
Well, I'm on the budget billing.
okay,
Okay, so when I get my check on the third of the month, I pay that, along with the winterization.
okay.
And I just want to know how, now for 1 month, I had $250 light bill, just lights,
Just electricity,
just electricity. Next month it was $300. The next month, 600 and some,
okay.
with just the lights and heat. I want to know how it jumped that high.
A few things, and I'll let the town manager, he's way more skilled. There's several, these are just facts and they're gonna be somewhat uncomfortable, and they're not gonna really make you feel better, but just some facts that I did some research on. The town has not changed its rate as far as what we're charging for electricity, but we did have the third warmest December on record. That's a fact, that's what all the weather people have said, followed by the coldest January since 2018, and Dominion's fuel adjustment charge, which is a pass-through where the town gets the charge and passes it, that tripled. And this council last fall did absorb some of it for a few months, I believe. Didn't we?
I think we've absorbed over $500,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, we're using some of the
For
federal
course
money.
of the year.
But I don't know, but again, now, the other questions I ask people, and again, I don't want to sound sanctimonious but these are just questions. And every house is different. Some houses are old homes with
Yeah,
big glass.
that's what I have, an old home.
Right, and what do you normally keep your thermostat on, if you don't mind me asking? It's not my business, but I'm just asking.
Ever since they had put it in, it's been sit on 75.
Okay,
Ever since it's been in, I have never changed it.
okay.
It's on 75.
Still seeing the dramatic change.
Winter and summer.
Okay. All right.
If I may, and Claudia brought her bill by. and
Okay.
I think, Brittany's even spoken to her. She's got a honking bill.
Okay.
And the biggest part of it is in the base rate charges. It's $672 of just base rate, and I think it is just 1 month.
It is.
For the electrical.
Yeah, we checked on it. $672 on the base rate.
Wow.
But I will explain to you that the mayor pointed out that we had a real big increase last year. Those of you on council may remember we had a really big increase last year. The council ate a good portion of it and didn't pass it on using COVID relief Arpa money, okay? So that offset some of it. And then, that power cost adjustment, the PCA that you see on the bottom of your bill, that
We
includes that.
we went from about something like
It went,
$17 up to $181.
but the big part of her bill was the basic charge. That was $672, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken. So what I'm asking council, if you would permit me, if you remember, about 10 years ago, we had some of these same concerns, and are they being billed enough or not enough? And Dan actually contracted or contacted a third-party vendor who will come out and test meters. It ain't the town going back and saying, all right, looks
Right.
good to me. This is actually a third-party person who will tell whether the meter is running fast or slow. And our experiences from the last time was, and I think these, and I told Jake earlier, I think this is when we still had the spinner meters, not the digital ones.
Right.
And they were running about 98%. Miss Thompson was the one that, I still have her results in her desk. If that's okay with you, I'd like to maybe do a half a dozen, just a broad.
Certainly these large bills, like, to give her some peace of mind, I'd be a nervous wreck. I'd be afraid to cut the thermostat on if I were you, again.
And make sure her
Actually, you have
meter
about-
is technically reading right, and it's not me or Charlie going out and telling Claudia, "I don't worry about it, everything's fine." But get a third-party person in here and figure it out, and, if there is a problem. Last time we checked, but it was the old analog meters, they were actually running a little slow, the ones that we tested. And if it's agreeable to you guys, and Miss Kelly will come back here and test her meter, hopefully within the next few weeks we can get
I
it.
think that would be fine. And one of the things, Ms. Kelly, you may not, you're welcome, we hope you stay the whole meeting, but at the end of the agenda, I've got a question. I think it's time Blackstone, and as we near our budget season, because we see a lot of people will comment about, paying double taxes in a town, and to find out what the true cost of living in Blackstone is compared to other, not just other towns in Southside, but towns our population that might be, halfway across the state, all the way across the state, just to see how we compare. Because there is a lot of angst out there right now. It's a tough time of year to have a bill like that.
I do have that information for you. I don't have it in a spreadsheet format. but,
Okay.
We've got it put together. For example,
We don't need to go all up, but just to show some tidbits.
I'll give you Farmville and South Hill.
And just for everyone listening, one of the most repeated things we see on Facebook and social media is, well, if I live in a town, I pay county taxes, and then I got to turn around and pay town taxes. There's every town in Virginia that has a government charges town taxes and county tax. I'm not saying that's wonderful, but that's just,
See, the thing with us is when we in Blackstone, we pay town tax and county taxes.
Right.
We pay 2 for Blackstone and 2 for
But
Nottaway.
but it's important people understand this. The county taxes go to fund the public school system, the landfill, and some of the they help supplement some of the sheriff's deputies. The town taxes go to pay fire rescue, and other town services, even though we have, garbage fees and that sort of thing. But you're right. Philip, what'd you find?
Just real brief, and this is the town of South Hill. Their real estate property tax rate is 34 cents per $100 of value, or 22 cents. Their personal property is $1.50 per $100, we're 85 cents. Town of Farmville, they're very low on the real estate, 13 cents.
Wow.
But they're $1.50 on the personal property. A lot of communities lean more on the personal property than they do the real estate, simply because they may have transient populations or students and that sort of thing that can do it. For example, Farmville's average for 3,000 gallons of water and sewer, and I use 3,000 because that's the benchmark we typically use for the first 3,000 gallons. Farmville is about $37. We're about $50, $51. I didn't include crew, but I think we know crew's
Way high.
got some
Yeah.
high numbers. For example, Marion, Virginia, I think was one of the towns you mentioned. They're about $48 for 3,000 gallons of water and sewer. Cambridge is about 70 for water and sewer. Their water is very reasonable, but their sewer is high. They must have taken on some debt. We'll put this in a more readable format.
I think it's important as we move forward, but the main thing we want to tell Ms. Kelly tonight is that we're going to get someone a third party to look at your meter and others to see if that's start there. And of course, if it turns out your meter is now what if we find out her meter is spot on? What are we gonna tell her then?
Your meter's spot on, and we'll work with you on a payment plan and try to figure out how to do it. If it's off or reading too fast, if it's running too slow, certainly we're not gonna come back to you, that's on us. If it's running too fast, then we would make an adjustment right there.
But her meter, but we replaced all electrical meters in town, I know, 6, 7, 8 years ago?
We did. And
That's
like I
what,
said,
we need to also make sure we're doing this, but it's out of good faith. There's no suspicion on our end, knowing that we're not saying, all right, we know it's bad, we need to, this is us just
we
going
did
out
an
and open.
Right.
audit of every commercial meter, if you remember. We found the nursing home was only running on two legs, and so they weren't being fully charged. But we'll go and try it. We did it last time, and it came back that it was actually reading slower than it was faster.
Now, the other thing about it, with that high bill, I've been telling people, and I hope, Madam Treasurer, I've been telling them correctly, but people have called me frantically. I said, look, if you will contact our town staff at Town Hall for this high bill that you can't afford by March 30th to avoid disconnection, we'll set up a payment plan for this bill. Talk to the treasurer. How many months will we let people pay on that?
Well, I don't
What
know.
we usually do, if somebody has a big bill, we'll ask them to make good faith effort to give us something.
Right.
We try to do half and then mark
Half.
the rest.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
we
then-
try to do half then, and then we also offer the 2 10-day extensions within a 12-month period,
Okay.
on top of the additional 15 days you already get. So most of the time when you tell people that you have that much time, they're able to get it in by then.
Have you had a lot of people call and seek assistance?
Get a lot of folks that, I don't get paid till Tuesday.
Alright.
Please don't cut me off because I don't get paid till Tuesday, so
Most people
maybe
can pay
it reads
half,
some.
and then we'll work out something for the rest.
But until 2013, you only had it used to be you had 14 days to pay your light bill, and council in 2013, November 2013, I was successful and was able to get 30. You got 30 days. That's some relief. Southside Electric, I believe, is 14 days. I believe.
And you have 45 days with the additional 15.
Right, we do. Right, but Southside Electric is 14, I believe.
Yeah.
I'll give you one last tidbit, and
Yep.
for your information as well. Looking at the actual kilowatt hours purchased by the town of Blackstone from VEMA. In the month of November 2021, we purchased 3,282,000 kilowatt hours. In the month of, and this, Jennifer put this together for me, and it's good information. I make copy for anybody that like it. December, we purchased or were billed 3,400,000 kilowatt hours. And in January, which is where your booming bill came from, we were billed by by VEMA 4,943,000 kilowatt hours. So our bill went up appreciably. I don't know if it went up $672, but the town's bill.
So you just added it all to me, huh? But, I know you said we were mean.
We will.
You just gave me all the charges.
Do it now.
You charged me everything they had to give to you. You said it.
Looking at that bill, I don't think we forgot anything.
You gave it all to me.
We were fully billed.
Ms. Kelly, we thank you, and thank you for your demeanor tonight, 'cause I know this is rough, but you've had a good spirit about it.
With the true bill.
Oh, I don't know, maybe we'll sit down tomorrow and figure out what we can do, because the
No,
truth
the
is
true
700
bill,
plus.
I got a letter telling me that my true bill was I had to pay $760.10 by the 29th of,
That would be your
April.
true-up amount since you're on the budget billing, yes ma'am.
okay.
But
But we can figure, yeah, right.
we'll figure out some kind of a plan to offset some of that
That
cost.
was just kind of an automated letter for all the budget billing customers.
No, I won't. My sister on budget billing and she didn't get one.
Was she over? Did she have
So
overage?
not all customers got one.
Right, only those that have overage.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Why she didn't have one? She didn't, it wasn't the whole bill, so she should have had a true bill, right?
If she had an overage, I believe,
I have to look at it.
we'll definitely look into that. We welcome the scrutiny. We want to get it right. We want to make sure.
But I just want to know why was I getting charged all this? Which one of y'all gonna let me come and stay with y'all?
You can't tell you what, at my house, you're going to freeze, so my thermostat's on 64
Mine's a 62.
in the winter and 73 in the
See,
summer.
you all don't have them old houses like I do, where they came and put the heating up in the top of the house. And then the heat, I told him, I said, well, if it's in the top of the house, looks like to me it should come down.
Heat rises. You want the heat? Yeah, you want the heat in the floor.
So the vents is in the top of the house.
Oh.
So I don't get nothing but cold air coming down.
Ms. Kelly, we thank you, and we're going to look into this and get you some more answers.
Okay,
Thank you.
if not, I'll be back to raise that.
Anyone else tonight? This is the first part of the agenda. There's a second opportunity.
I have something.
Yes, please, yes. We just ask you to come forward, state your name and address, and,
Tanya Booth, 713 2nd Street.
all right.
So I originally came here with the walkathon being at Crenshaw.
Yes.
So the Craig Will Scholarship Fund is now being moved to Shallow Blackstone. The date and time is still the same,
April 23rd?
April 23rd. And I have flyers if y'all would like one. And it's still a nonprofit organization, and we would like the community to be involved.
And what, is this 10 or 9 a.m. start time?
It's the walk starts at 8.
Oh.
Registration's at 7:30.
So 8 o'clock, all right?
Yeah, and the 1 mile starts at 8:15, and then the 5K starts at 9:30.
Okay, and y'all got a route, y'all worked out a route with the police chief?
Yes, and even though we had to kind of alter it a little bit, it's just 1 block over from the Crenshaw,
Fine, fine. So we'll meet at Shiloh at 8 o'clock on Saturday, April 23rd.
April 23rd.
See you there.
All right.
And could I have a flyer that I can put it in with everything, or you can take these?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else before we get into the meat of our agenda? Fire Chief Tomer. Looked a little spiffier last time I saw you.
Yeah. Sometimes I dress up.
Look good.
All right, agenda-wise, we got a couple grants that we've applied for that we're still waiting on. One of them is the Assistance of Firefighter Grant. We're still waiting. Department of Forestry is a 50-50 we're waiting on. And we applied for an AED through the Walmart Foundation. Realized that the community's using our meeting room a little bit more, nonprofits and other organizations. It would be nice to have an AED actually in the meeting room. So we're hoping to get that through Walmart. And as you're aware, we got awarded a very nice looking grant through the government, as Mayor expressed. Engine 3 is sitting at our station, the new one. We picked it up from Pierce Atlantic on Friday. Still needs equipment to be put on it. It's not going to be in service for some time. We want to make sure we're putting everything on it right, and everybody gets trained on how to use it before we throw it in service. Nowadays, a fire truck's a fire truck, but there's little bits and pieces here to make it different, so we just want to make sure everybody's up to date. We attended, myself and Deputy Chief Bears attended a kind of a kickoff meeting with emergency services that was held by Buddy Hyde, our coordinator. It was kind of a, I forget what he called it, but we pretty much put all the concerns on the board for emergency services, and he's going to compile them and get back with us to, I guess, formulate a plan of the future. One of the great things that I like so far is his goal is to Blackstone Fire Department's paying for this program, Crew Fire Department's paying for the same program, and Burkeville's paying for the same. Why isn't Nottoway County paying for that, since all three organizations use it, to take that financial burden off of each of the organizations and have one centralized platform?
Gotcha.
So we just needed that person to be that oversight. So I do foresee some success with it if everything goes well.
Great.
House numbering, it was interesting. Deputy Chief Bears says that he's had several requests. Some of them were for different color house numbers because they didn't want the black ones that were already on their house. So I, as much as I feel it's very valuable, it's a lot of time put on town staff and volunteer staff to go around putting numbers up. I think there needs to be another avenue for pursuing either compliance with an ordinance, evaluating the ordinance to see if it's, are we going to keep it? If we're going to keep it, are we going to enforce it? But
I've said that all along. We've got a lot of ordinances in the town of Blackstone. None are enforced. Why have them? I mean, we don't enforce them, so, I mean, how many domesticated animals you can have, how many chickens you can have, we don't enforce it, so.
I take exception, we're chicken
No, we
chickens
do
all
not.
the time.
You're getting rid of some roosters. I know you're getting rid of some roosters.
Well, I did talk to Zach about, a few years ago, Charlie was writing down, when he was reading meters, he
When
was writing
billing
down the
through.
addresses and stuff, but can we make them, if we know that they don't have them, can we make them do it? I mean, do we
It's an
send them a
ordinance.
letter?
It's a law.
So we send them a letter and say, you know, you have to have these, I mean, these are the people we wanted to call, not the people that already had numbers.
Right.
What's the letter say? That you have 30 days to comply? If not, you shall get a ticket? I mean, you know, what's the letter gonna say, and then we're gonna follow through? That's the question.
Yeah, if you don't have any teeth in it, there's no need in having it.
And a lot of these homes, like 65% of the housing units in Blackstone are renter occupied.
And it's not that we want to lay the law down to citizens, it's that we wanna help police and fire and
Yeah.
rescue squad get to these homes. if
Absolutely.
They don't have
What's your example you use, if it's smoke coming out?
Yeah, if it's on fire, you can see it, but it's the lady down on the kitchen floor, and she doesn't know house number, and say it's Pickett Court. Which one is it? You know, that's the tough one. I saw Mr. Michael Bagley. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
It should not make a difference on the color. And then again, the most important part is it should be reflectorized at night to see it from, say, a 25 or 30-foot distance from the street.
That's true. I mean, the fire trucks do have the EMS do have lights, but I know mine are not reflected. They're
And then the people that get their house painted, they should ask and force the painter not to paint the daggone number, or this, not to paint over the number,
Yeah.
make the house.
yeah.
It's a safety, people do not think safety first.
They don't. Yes, Diana.
Wasn't there a call that went out on the emergency system, and you're supposed to call in if you had a home that, or a business? I mean, I called because I wasn't sure that
Yes, I did.
403 was visible, but I hadn't heard anything back from that.
That was what I had sent out, I think,
Oh.
and you did call,
I
we
did,
talked,
I
and you,
called and I said, you let me know.
and you had numbers, so you were good.
I was
So,
good.
yes, so you were good.
All right. And one of the other, I guess, regretfully, everything's liability nowadays. Zach doesn't want to be drilling into people's brick or concrete homes. So that was another issue that kind of came up. If you have wood, okay, we'll put a screw in, but going into somebody's brick home or mortar home,
Are we looking at maybe notifying people having seeking RFPs and getting someone to go and do the work? Hire somebody to go do it?
Remember 30 years ago, 28 years ago.
I remember, yeah.
We handed out numbers to everybody in town, hung them on the door.
And a lot of addresses were changed, like Dinwiddie Avenue was all discombobulated. You're supposed to have one side of the street's odd, one is even.
There's still some mess over there.
Yeah.
Where that old trailer park was. I don't know, let's sit around and see if there's a better way to do it. I certainly think that, housing project areas. That we've done, if there are houses in those housing project like East End or West End or, Taylor Bottom, I think we should ensure that all the houses have a number before we leave.
Yeah, that's easy.
That's a simple one. So
Right.
we can get started on some of that kind of stuff, and I do think DHCD will provide some funding in those project areas that we can use.
and probably the numbers we're giving out are probably the same ones from 30 years ago.
May very well be. There were the ones that were in the closet still.
Yeah.
That's
So,
huge, yeah.
Hasn't been a huge expense whatsoever. Sorry, there was some confusion last month in my packet. I included my request to Nottaway County in there to let you all know what I requested through Nottaway County.
The fire district, the fire tax.
Right, and when I found out it was on the agenda, I was like, uh-oh. So that was not intended whatsoever for the town. The town already well supports the fire district. That was just to kind of keep you abreast of what I've trying to pursue through Nottaway County for funding for
You've mentioned that before, so this is not a new idea.
Multiple times.
2 or 3 years, I'd say, yeah.
Yep.
Any questions, Chief? Anything else, Chief Tomer? I'm sorry.
Just a quick, truck committees meeting pretty much on a weekly basis for an aerial device. April 2023 is possibly the earliest we could get a aerial device. We are looking at a stock unit, which means that it's already planned for production. If we custom build like we normally do, it's going to be over a 2-year build time. So this apparatus already has a place in line. They're already ordering a chassis and all this other stuff. We kind of get to fine tune it a little bit, but the body's, the guts are the guts,
Right.
pretty much.
That's great.
We recruited Carl Bassfield as our department photographer.
That's a good one.
He's actually popped up at a couple scenes already. We have him on our dispatch notification system. Comes out, takes pictures. It's nice. Carl used to be one of our junior firefighters back in the day, so he really enjoyed coming back into it. Training-wise, a couple big things. Dante Brown passes EMT, 150-hour course. Corey Murphy passed a paramedic, which is over 1,000 hours didactic plus clinical training. These are, you gotta look, these are volunteers, 150 hours, you know, until you put it into some complexity. That's pretty much for a month of full-time employment that a volunteer is dedicating to provide a service to the citizens. So
Great.
it's an honor that they have that sort of drive. And I think that's all the kind of the hot stuff on my agenda.
Any members of council with any questions of Chief Homer?
Got one. Do you have any idea how many AEDs we have spread around town at least in town?
It's an excellent question. I probably knew Walmart might have one. Regretfully, I don't think many churches that probably should be one of the higher
Definitely.
places to have an AED
Each officer on duty has one, correct?
in their vehicle. And they're usually the first ones to get there regardless if you're in town. And they
Citizens
probably
has
deploy
one.
their AED more than we ever do.
We
So
have one at the airport.
Philip, do we have them in town, one in town hall?
there's one in town
An
hall.
AED, I don't think their batteries are up
I
to
think we
date.
need chicken.
Yeah, let's make sure we're ahead.
We have an AED, but I wouldn't.
Wrong answer. Nobody knows how to use it.
Let's check our shelf life.
I wouldn't know
Things are
if
so
they
low
use
key
it.
here, no one gets so worked up. We're good, right?
We have them so we can practice on Phil and see if they work.
I was like, he's the oldest employee here,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
Have them, but I don't think that they're operational.
All right. Well, that's something, that's a great question, Jake. That's, they've saved many people in Blackstone.
And to be honest, they're extremely cheap. We just bought one for one of the apparatus. They were $1,800 from something that used to cost a lot of money. They made the end user AED pretty affordable, and it runs off of the one we just replaced batteries. They're CR123 batteries. They're this big, and it had 10 of them in it.
Wow.
Some of them use D-cell batteries. It's just enough to give a good zap.
Right.
Increases your chances of survival by 23%, if I'm not mistaken. over
Within
CPR?
that, if you get there early enough, yeah, definitely.
All right. Great point.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Been a great day for the town and the department and the county, yes, overall community. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, you have your payment of bills. You have the first batch. They total $717,784.76. These are checks not yet approved. I entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Jones has moved. Mr. Nash has seconded. Any further discussion? I believe it, yeah, go ahead.
On Sheehy Ford, you have a $36,000 truck. Was that reimbursed? What was the funding? Was that
We
the?
used recycle and scrap money and the interest income off of our money market account. And also whenever we sell old fire trucks or we sell dump trucks or garbage trucks, that money all goes into a pool. And that $36,000 bought a truck that was ultimately intended to be an animal control vehicle. We did it, but I think we had some discussions. We weren't at that point just yet. So it's at the water treatment plant. They had a truck go down. So we had the water treatment plant using it.
And I noticed our Southside electric bills are higher this month, just so we're not the only ones that are hearing. So that's it for those.
Very good. So, Mr. Alman, you had a question, or you? It's, yeah,
Thank you, Diana.
we need a roll call vote, and I believe it is the rookie's turn. Jake, you could lead off tonight.
Aye.
Aye.
That batch of bills is approved 7-0. And your second batch of bills, these are broken down by department. They total, if I can get to they total $205,528.42. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Ms. Jones has moved. Is there a second? Second. Mr. Miller has seconded. Any discussion? They're broken down by department. Anybody in the audience ever have a question about a bill? They're your bills.
Philip, we had a fuel purchase this month for $18,000. Do we see that that's a dramatic increase from previous fuel that we've been getting?
We might on a state contract, if I remember before things got so bad, it's probably $1,000 more. $17,000 was the typical load. I don't know if there's additional surcharges for delivery. We're seeing a lot more of that. We're seeing a lot more where vendors are telling us we can't guarantee pricing. Delivery, we can't guarantee pricing on stock that sells. I think it is up, but if I remember, and it's a standard size truck, and I sign those invoices, and if it's for just regular unleaded gas, it's usually in the 17s, 17 and change. If you go back and look, and I assume
It's not as dramatic as what people are seeing.
we haven't seen it on that particular invoice, no. But if that's an invoice from Quarles, which is the state provider of gas and diesel
Yeah.
that we use to provide fuel to the town, we do not buy aviation gas from them, just unleaded and diesel.
And then one last question, and then I'll be quiet. The projector that's in here, I see we've got that paid for. Will we start using that soon?
We had the company Code Blue come and do a little demonstration with us the other day. It's, I don't know how it's going to function well, because, what I was thinking is we're gonna use it just for the agenda, so the public can see it.
Right.
But because of the way the cameras are set up, the people watching online will not be able to see it.
Okay.
But it will scroll, you can set it to where if I make it into one of those programs where it automatically scrolls whatever that's.
Slideshow?
Yes, a slideshow. If you make it into that, we could put the council packet on there, but it's just gonna keep scrolling, and we might not be on what
Which,
is going there.
Unless you
And I
want
think
us
it's
to
gonna
hook
confuse people.
it into one of yours and they could follow along, if you guys are following along, but.
I mean, I wouldn't mind doing it, that's fine.
But
I just would like, I mean, for the bills, I mean, we could just be scrolling through them right now if someone wanted to see them. And
anything that can make the audience experience more, it's nothing worse than sitting in the audience and hearing us talk, and you don't feel like you know what we're talking about, and I know that happens a lot, and we need to all be better about that.
But it is gonna be just this audience. Anyone watching is not gonna be able to
Right,
see
that's
it.
fine.
right. Well, that's fine. The people who come, certainly that's our top priority, but
So, we can work on that, Councilman.
thank you.
very good, very good. All right, we've got yes, Mr. Bagley.
Maybe Mr. Bagley wants to scroll the,
Well, maybe so, but I noticed that when I've been out of town, I missed my meetings. We cannot hear the public when they are speaking.
Right, and I need to do a better job when someone does speak to either have them come to the podium or at least say who they are
Or
and
maybe
paraphrase.
Maybe we should have a wireless mic just to pass
Well,
around.
We talked about that
Yes.
several years ago.
Right,
but we talked about a microphone out there so you could hear better, and y'all passed on that, but then y'all also talked about maybe not leaving the chambers here, so
right.
we didn't invest any more money into it.
We might, but 2 years, 3 years from now, the meetings may not be held here. But you're right, nothing's worse than following something along and all of a sudden, someone in the audience apparently has made a great point and a motion's made and you don't know what, I totally understand. With that said, we've got a motion that's been made, duly seconded. Any further discussion? Mr. Allman?
Aye.
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 Those bills are approved 7-0. You have two items under appropriations. The first is the aeration project at the reservoir with a price tag of $1,009,000.
It's actually half of that, but
Right.
there's two transfers that equal $1,009,000.
Later in the packet, there's a health department grant. But I know I asked this last time, and for those of you who may not understand, if you remember years ago, if you rode across the Fort Pickett Reservoir on Route 46, you could look out to your right. If you're going toward Lawrenceville and see the water bubbling. And that was tubes, late 90s, they were placed on the bottom of the reservoir to help prove water quality. And they apparently have not been working for some time. I did talk to a former employee of the town. Are we sure they need to be replaced? It's not possible they've been silted over, we could save that money, or?
Well, as far as, I tell you, I'm sure it needs to be done because our engineer and our lead water operator have both stated that it's not working. And
Okay,
it's not
all right. It has been 24 years ago, so, that's not bad, that's just a lot of money, but, that might be part of the reason we had a problem last December. We had a problem with the manganese.
They've been working, but they haven't been working reliably, and now they're just
Okay.
They're done now.
So you need an appropriation for $504,550, and the second appropriation is the, you may or may not know, the town gave bonuses using some of the ARPA money, and that cost was $92,533, and I forgot what the bonuses were. How much were they? $1,000?
Well, we made them 13, so they would equal out to 1,000.
Basically, the employee, each employee got $1,000 take-home pay,
Right.
so it was $1,300 gross. And so council needs to approve these these appropriations, because they were not in the budget. And,
The aeration project, I believe you're gonna award it tonight. Did you open those bids?
yes.
If you agree to that, then that's what this appropriation is, and it's doubled because I have to move it from funds.
Okay.
So your ARPA money's sitting in the general fund, and in order to move it to water and sewer, I have to double that amount. So that's just an accounting transfer. But the 504, using ARPA as interim financing until the Department of Health.
And explain why we decided this. We decided instead of going out, isn't this what we talked about? Instead of us going out and seeking a loan, the town has been very diligent in saving money. Let's pay ourselves back the interest right now instead of going and paying someone else. So
And we're using ARPA funds, cash, not reserve funds. We're using the ARPA money. Water and sewer is eligible, but this really is just an interim financing piece instead of going to the bank and borrowing $500,000. And we have an expectation that late summer, early fall, we'll be favorably presented with a 50% grant, 50% loan on the deal. So we hope that up to half of that would be offset by grant money. And reimburse us.
Will there be any type of warranty on these devices to make sure?
Yeah, the workmanship and the materials all have a year warranty, as every construction project does. And they're obligated to come back and work on them for up to a year.
What's the lifespan or the life expectancy?
Well, we did it in what year?
98.
98. So we're 24 years. I can tell you probably less than 24 years.
I'd say 20 years probably.
20 years.
One thing I'd like to know while we're doing this, if possible, just, and it's really it's not scientific, but the reservoir is getting some age on it. You know, it looks like, I may be wrong, but it looks like Blackstone could find itself selling water only to Blackstone and Fort Pickett for the foreseeable future, and that's okay. We may not, the water deal to the end of the county may not work out, may be a good thing. But siltation, I just wonder, that 311-acre lake, you know, when it was built in 1942, how much has the capacity shrunk in the last 80 years?
You know, we just have a withdrawal permit.
Right.
So we don't take all the water anyhow, but we're still entitled to take up to 5 million gallons with an ultimate safe yield as much as 9 million. It's probably been impacted some, but our town's withdrawal permit, I'll speak in the microphone, the town's withdrawal permit already permits it currently to withdraw 5 million gallons.
But is
a
it
day.
there? My question is, you know, is it there?
As far as the health department is concerned, yes. As
Okay.
far, can I confirm 100% in a 100-year drought? I would probably need to rely on expert.
Because
like,
Crystal Lake, which is much smaller, but I know Crew 30 years ago, they had siltation was destroying the volume of water and the quality of water, and we're so far okay.
I'm sure there is some here as well.
I just worry we're going to be the Lone Rangers. It looks like in the county. They're talking about water authority for the Western end. That's fine. God bless them. But I just want to make sure we're in good shape for Blackstone today and Blackstone tomorrow. And that just
I can add.
put that-
And there is siltation there. Raising the dam, our experience with Lake Chesnam and Amelia County, raising the dam was ecologically not really possible. There was also a proposed Lake Genito. If you ever take 604, which is Chula Road in Amelia, and you go into Powhatan, there was talk about putting a dam there one day and backing up the Appomattox River, but the volume of wetlands that would be impacted, and it was simply impractical at the time. So siltation does happen. Lake Chesnam has silted in. There was discussion about putting baffles on the dam to raise the dam, but the amount of wetlands that have been created by the siltation, it was very problematic for them to do it. They actually proposed to build a new reservoir, a second reservoir, as the least expensive option, rather than raising the height of the dam.
Well, just things to keep in track of, because, you know, we all love it when we turn our spigot on, it's good, but, you know, we want to make sure we got plenty of volume for years ahead. We need a motion, folks, to approve these two appropriations. Mr. Morgan has moved.
Explain the second one. The
Yes.
second one was, you guys approved the 60,500, but when we asked for the take-home pay to be 1,000, the town paid for the taxes, it changed the amount to 92,533. So
That's right.
This is just a cleaning up
Very good.
procedure. You guys already approved that.
Mr. Morgan has moved to approve. Is there a second? Second. Mr. Jones is seconded. Any further discussion?
And we are, just to be clear for Jennifer's records, we're approving the amount that's presented, not the half amounts that,
We're approving $1,009,100 for the aeration and.
Can you split them, please?
Okay, and then number 2 would be the bonuses. All right. We'll take number 1 first. Mr. Morgan's motion is for item number 1 first. Is that okay? And Ms. Jones is second to that. We'll have roll call vote starting with Mr. Allman.
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries 7-0. Next, we need a motion to approve the ARPA bonuses, which totals $92,533. Mr. Morgan has moved. Ms. Scott has seconded. Any further discussion?
So the actual cost is 92, but it's listed as 121. What's the 30 grand difference? Is that out of the town's pocket?
No, that's the accounting transfer from funds. The true cost is 92, but the appropriation is for 121. If you go down to the appropriation, just like how the first one is double, that one, you're moving funds. It's not double, it's what went into the
Gotcha.
water, sewer, and electric fund. That increased it from 92 to 121.
All right. And the rationale, just for some of y'all may be wondering what in the world happened. Our town employees, worked through COVID, especially our street department, our sanitation department, and
and the admin department.
yes, it's our clerk. And so we wanted to be sure, and we saw other local governments around the area doing it, and we were on the back end. So, the motion's been made and seconded on appropriation number 2. Any further discussion? We'll have a roll call vote starting with Mr. Allman.
Aye.
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 That motion carries 6-1. We have committee reports. We've had some committees that have met, and the first up is the employment, which I believe most of that was in closed session, was it not?
It was.
But there was a recommendation to advertise to seek an RFP, request for proposals to outsource a position we've talked about a long time here, human resources. Is it a full-time job? Does someone come work here? The committee has recommended no. Third party, independent of town hall, someone that would be a professional in that field, and that is the committee's recommendation. Is that correct?
Correct.
What saith this council?
I move that we seek for RFPs to possibly be included in the budget coming up.
Is there a second? Second. Motion made and duly seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say
I got
aye.
a question.
Yes.
You said that the budget coming up, right?
Meaning July. Yeah, we're not creating any,
Okay,
I
so,
mean,
so you're saying
by the
that,
time you get the RFP, you're pushing it anyway.
so you're saying it'd be good for July?
Correct.
Okay.
And I don't know how they'll get, I guess each professional may have their own way of pricing. Some may do hourly, some may say, you've got a workforce of 70 employees, I'll charge this much to evaluate. If I get called in because there's a dispute, there'll be this much. So we'll probably have to look at a lot of apples to oranges, I would imagine. But hey, it doesn't cost anything, we don't have to hire anybody. We just need to look at I think this is a good first step. We've talked about this. Mr. Morgan's been vocal about it. I think we need to look at it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Under insurance, there's a report that the committee has recommended renewing the health insurance with the TLC group, the town absorbing the increases, and there's also been discussion about the town being able to contribute more toward the family plan, but I believe due to the increases, that is not going to take place this year.
Correct.
But how much are the increases just for the employee? I know I read it. It's going to be eight, is it not?
We then met with the finance committee because the insurance committee wanted to do it.
Right.
They just wanted to take it to account and finance to see if they would approve it.
But the overall increase,
Surprisingly, we recommended it.
but the increase is going to be what, there's a 9% increase in the insurance plan, it looks like to me.
Correct. Originally, it was a 9% increase to the town, but once they absorb the employees increase as well, it's gonna be an 11% increase to the town cost for health insurance.
All right. So what is, I want to hear the recommendation. So we currently insure 100% of the employee, 50% of the employee plus dependents. Is it proposed that we continue doing that, or we're going to add the family?
It wasn't tiered kinda like that. We
Okay.
had the different percentage breakdown that we carried over each year.
Okay.
And now it's gonna be broken down 100% for the individual. It'll be more like 79% of the plus one, 71% of the family. and then it breaks out about 95% if somebody bought up. So
Okay.
if they buy up to the 500 plan, the town pays about 95%. They have to pay for the other 5%. So it worked out where no employee has an increase out of pocket. Even
Okay.
though the plan was going up,
Right.
the employee didn't.
The family plan will cost an extra $28 a month roughly, correct?
If,
And
correct,
and
with
that's
the
what
renewal.
the town is, or that's what the, health insurance committee recommended that we, I guess you'd say, not eat, but help the employee and pay it.
From a budget standpoint, what the amount of money spent this year for employee insurance versus what this would do would be what? What's roughly the difference in a year? I know that, I think we're paying, insurance costs, what, $55,000 a month, something like that, I believe? The number,
It's roughly 57,000 currently.
all right. Is it gonna be a dramatic hit on the budget? I mean,
Well, we mentioned it tonight, or during our account finance meeting. It's gonna be an additional $336 roughly per employee if they do the, family plan. But we also know that this year, we're not gonna be able to afford to do 6% across the board cost of living raises.
Right.
And so we made it known that this is gonna be able to help people out.
right.
Whereas I'm on the family plan, I was gonna face a $30 per paycheck increase for my family plan.
$60 a month.
Just for the renewal, because the town was facing an increase, and
Right.
so did the employee. We've had increases over the years, the employees have. I
Right.
remember it was $298 a few years ago.
Right.
And that's what Lonnie offered. He said, let's kind of look at what it's gonna take to contribute a little bit more. Well, then we saw this increase, so they just kept it flat for the employee. So
Okay.
I don't have to pay out an extra $27.59 per paycheck because
Okay.
the town is absorbing that.
You've heard the recommendation from the committee. I entertain a motion to whatever council wishes to do.
So move.
Councilwoman Jones has moved to approve the increases and changes in the contribution.
Now, this also includes renewal as well, correct?
Correct.
Right, renewal with the TLC group, right? So second to that motion.
Second.
Mr. Miller is seconded. Any further discussion? It's rough out there, I tell you, it's rough. This is probably a necessary step. It's gonna be over, I'd recommend, we'll have to do a roll call vote. It exceeds $10,000, so we'll have a roll call vote starting with Mr. Allman.
Aye.
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 That motion carries 7-0, and we had an account and finance committee meeting on March 15th. Chairman Nash, anything,
You see the first thing on there was leachate rates. We had a joint meeting with Supervisor Shackleton, the county administrator, and Ms. Tomer. We didn't come to a conclusion of anything. I think I would like, as a committee chair, to request that we have a meeting with them, wherever it needs to be, not about leachate rates. We need to discuss more in depth about the school property.
okay? Maybe have a global conversation about maybe some horse trading that can be put on paper and everybody can agree and shake hands.
It was
And
kind of mentioned, but it didn't come across very well to them,
okay.
so.
Well, what we can't do is get in a situation where we do something and we leave town hall happy, and then we find out they react on a Thursday night to something, and then we have this race to the top of trying to outdo each other.
And we're not, I
Right.
don't think, and correct
I
me if
agree
I'm
with you.
wrong, Jake, but our goal is to make sure that we lessen the burdens on our citizens and not take over what is a county issue to begin with that shouldn't be a town expense.
Right.
So I'm trying to, I think I used the term, we've got the bird in hand right now, and we need to make sure we can get done what we need to get done, which we've been dealing with I've been on here 12 years now.
Right.
We've been dealing with it for 12 years and getting nowhere.
So basically, we need to have a conversation. Leachate's part of it. Landfill fees are part of it. The blight that we're trying to get rid of at the school property and find a use for one of the buildings. Besides, if to put on tax rolls, maybe have some, So you're proposing to meet the county finance meeting maybe with the Board of Supervisors Budget Committee or something.
Correct.
I think that sounds
mean,
good.
the people that we were with the other night. And it's to the good, Jake even told me that night, he said, man, this is no brainer to us because it's going to actually be to the good for us.
I think leachate-
$98,000 or something a year?
Right. And if you look at what other people are charging, Nottaway County has been, like I said, we love the county, but Nottaway County, we have been very kind to the county on this. I mean, the other localities are charging tenfold.
There are localities that are in the 13 cents
We're charging 1 penny.
Yeah, we're less than a penny.
And
now.
again, we don't wanna bite the hand that feeds us, that helps our
No,
citizens as well.
we're in it together.
We don't want recourse from the county, and if the landfill takes another hit by us charging higher, they can come back and say, hey, we
Right.
wanna, so we just wanna, we don't wanna be unfair.
No.
It's about just while the communication's happening, just communicating about everything that's on the table. And
Correct.
we want to keep them separate. That's why we want a separate meeting. So we're not talking about leachate while we're talking about school buildings or
Okay.
any other projects. And then
Gotcha.
So for our purposes, is a general consensus from council, I think it was between the committee and the folks from the county, that we go to the 1 penny for 100% of users.
Correct, but I don't think we're at that point to where we can sign an agreement and say we're
No,
ready
no,
to sign
but
it.
for budget purposes.
Correct. Yeah.
So are we still charging right now though, the rates we've been charging?
We charge half volume at 0.8 of a penny.
But we're still charging?
And
Will.
it was discussed, if there was an increase, it would come with the budget.
With the budget, yeah.
And just a lot of y'all may wonder, what's the rhyme and reason behind this? And it's been gentlemen's agreements over the years. They've not been in writing, but everybody knew everybody, and that's just the way it was. Well, now we have a new county administrator. We're trying to, they're talking about dramatically raising landfill fees, which we get it. Their landfill's in the red. Our landfill's in the red. But we also, we've got to be, we've been charging, like I say, a half a penny per gallon of leachate? Some localities charge 13 cents. So if we did that in Nottaway County, the town of Blackstone would have made, several $1 million.
I think if we looked at it at 15 cents, which is the septage rate that we gave for Edmonds during the Afghan
Yeah.
refugees, at 15 cents, and if we charged 100% of volume, it would have been like $2.25 million.
Right. So anyway,
So there's nothing to act on leachate.
No,
rates,
very
except for
good.
I'd like for Jennifer to try to get a meeting together with that.
what else do we need recommendations
Health
on?
insurance renewal's already been done. Budget calendar, it's just informational, what Ms. Hardy tries to get us to stay along. Revised bus budget, that has changed from what we voted on last month because of the increase of fuel price. So, is it,
We need that,
what Department of Rail and Transportation came to us and said, hey, if you wanna revise your budget, you better do it now, because after the fact, you can't charge or get more extra money because of fuel costs. So, the new budget reflects an additional amount of $135,237 for increased fuel costs.
that's a recommendation to approve that. Is most of that gonna be DPRT money? It won't be Blackstone money?
Charges the town of Blackstone no extra,
Very
nothing
good.
extra comes
I'd
out.
entertain a motion to approve that change.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Morgan is second, and this is basically expanding the bus budget from 852,000, adding 135,000, all because of fuel.
Eric, it did include her use of fund balance did go up for the town's portion of that increase.
Correct. But it wasn't gonna be out of our
The town's-
pocket.
Correct, the
Yeah.
town's share did not go up.
It's over $10,000. Need a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Almond.
Aye.
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 The motion carries 7-0. What else, Mr. Nash?
Capital improvement plan, I don't know, do we need to vote on this tonight? Cause it's a lot to read. I'd rather everybody be able to read
I'd
it.
ask not to,
Because
yeah.
there is a
It's going
whole
to the
lot,
planning commission first and they'll make a recommendation to council.
there's a
Very
whole
good.
lot of fluff in there, I feel
Yep.
like. But it's good ambition.
It's a plan.
It's a lot of purchasing in
It's a
there.
plan.
In
And it
30
has not
years.
been modified from the department head request. You've got it in the unvarnished version.
Okay.
So we'll read that, if anyone has any questions. Jennifer put it on the meeting, I guess, after the planning commission approves. All right, accounting software, Ms. Hardy and the rest of the staff is recommending approval for our new accounting software, which will be very user-friendly. We'll actually be able to have apps now to where you can check your usage. I mean, it's gonna be nice, and it's supposed to be a whole lot easier. It's gonna be some growing pains for the staff. I'm trying to get to the total cost of what it would be. What was it, Ms. Hardy? Do you?
It was an estimate of about 125, but like I said, we haven't cast the full net yet, and that's where you.
But you're just asking for permission to advertise an RFP.
Yep.
Does the staff need our permission for that?
It's
Well,
better.
all right.
It's better so you're aware of what's going
Hold
on.
wait.
You wanna make that a motion?
You can't go wrong.
Who'd like to second Mr. Nash's motion?
Second.
I'm gonna give a second to Mr. Morgan. This is the RFP on the new accounting software to seek bids. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
The committee also met about, we did this several years ago, I don't know
Yeah.
how many years,
Remember that?
with an agreement between Troy and Banks they go through and find the bills in the town that may be duplicate bills.
Okay.
Or bills that we don't use anymore. That may include telephone lines, whatever it be. So the committee recommends that we engage with them again. We don't pay anything unless, what is 20, 30%?
If they find cost savings where we've overcharged, we upgraded a lot of the phone systems and we switched providers. And I just wanna make sure that when we cut it off, we actually.
It's no cost to us unless they find
24%.
savings. They take 24% of our savings.
Did this same firm work, did the same firm, Chris Sneed, I think, did it, didn't she? But she was,
Yes.
if it's saved it, this is right shortly after you came in and we had the budget mess and discovered how bad things were and saved a lot of money. This firm, Troy and Banks, do we have to see, can we just pick them? We don't have to like advertise?
I think last time they did it for me when I was here, they got like $250.
Okay, just as long as we're going through proper procurement.
It depends on how much they save, so I don't know.
Okay.
If we need to RFP it.
Do you feel comfortable with Mr.?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with
Okay.
going to them without having to actually solicit bids and.
Yeah, I mean, there's a specialized firm, and it's not gonna find anybody else really that does it around here, I know. Wish I could go through my house and find our bills. Mr. Alman, you'll make your first motion as a councilman tonight?
I'll make a motion
There.
to keep the audit and service for Troy Banks.
Is there a second to Mr. Alman's motion?
Second.
All right, Ms. Jones is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. On a procurement policy, you want to wait till the budget process to.
Yes.
All right. Anything else on finance?
And that's just to help the staff
Think it's
move a
fine?
little bit.
Think that's fine. Nothing else on finance, folks. We'll get into, let's see here. You have your consent agenda, which there are no consent agenda items under unfinished business. We do have goals, which we talked about back in January. And I'm gonna just read them out to you because I'm gonna be honest with you. I was a big goals guy when I took office. But I've learned that there's so many moving parts here at the town. On a daily basis, you can sit here and plan all day long and do nothing. But among the items that made the top of the list, it's about 10 of them, tourism, staffing the museums, completing the armory in 2 to 3 years. That we're on course for that. Help current developments, which our town manager is doing and staff are doing a phenomenal job, and determine what those revenue streams are and what to do with those revenue streams. The DBI position, might it be a hybrid where it's DBI, but also a town component to it. Mr. Miller was big on this better healthcare services, something I know Ms. Ames has been passionate about. We've talked about better med, urgent care. There are some potential discussions, believe it or not, yet again about something different, something not bond secure in and around Blackstone. Mr. Miller, another goal of his, he mentioned affordable housing. One of the things council was concerned about, we're seeing a lot of things get built that are very nice, and we're hearing all kinds of stories that are licking our chops about, man, they're getting $1,100 a month rent. What we worry about is our middle income or low income folks that are in a $600 a month house. Well, if you're the landlord, guess what? You see what rent's going for, you're gonna hike it 100, or they're gonna get caught in a pinch. Our local folks are gonna get caught in a pinch. So Mr. Miller has mentioned that. More diversity for Blackstone. That's been a big topic, something we're not afraid to discuss. There's some more issues on that. Beautification, the human resources position, which Mr. Morgan has championed. Following through with town concerns. We try to, when people leave the podium, we try to give them some answer or some hope. Instead of saying, thank you, Mrs. Smith, thank you, Miss So-and-so, we try to give them some follow-up. Townwide cleanup. Each of us lives in an area, I guarantee you, each of us can walk within 3 or 4 blocks and find a troubled area where there's litter. It makes me sick. Respond better to work orders. Mr. Van Orbeck, it's one of the things he pledged to do with the department heads. Concerns with race. Do we have an issue where a large segment of our population feels excluded or is not fully informed of what's going on? Those are some of the concerns that were discussed by our officials. There was discussion of taking quarterly bus rides to look at the wards. And one thing I want to add to this list, Bobby Thomas did ask us, I'd like us to schedule before this meeting's adjourned, he'd like to take the council and the mayor on a tour of both museums. If we could try to do that before June 1st, and schedule that, maybe a night before a council meeting, maybe like an hour before a council meeting. Also on the list, there are 3 other items. Recreation for the elderly, senior citizens, what do they do? They're not playing t-ball. What do they do around here? And that's where we hope the Armory can be that bridge to, folks sitting at home alone, just